The silence at Arlington's Tomb of the Unknown Soldier shattered when a scrawny 14-year-old yelled, "Hey, loser soldier, you're just a pathetic statue!" His taunt, sharp and vicious, hit the marble plaza like a slap, making the crowd flinch. This was Sergeant Daniel Hayes, his quiet strength filling the space, his uniform crisp, kepi low, hands steady on his rifle. The kid, Tyler, grinned, egged on by his snickering buddies in red shirts, while stunned adults glared. He stepped closer to the rope, itching for a reaction, blind to the sacred ground he was defiling. This was Sergeant Daniel Hayes, a young man whose quiet strength seemed to hold the whole plaza together, though he never asked for the spotlight. His uniform was sharp, his kepi casting a shadow over eyes that stayed locked forward, his hands steady on his ceremonial rifle. The kid's words hung in the air, ugly and sharp, pulling snickers from his crew. A group of middle schoolers in bright red field trip shirts, their faces lit with mischief. A few adults nearby stiffened, their jaws tight, but the kid, Tyler, was just getting started, feeding off the attention like it was candy. He swaggered closer to the rope barrier, his sneakers squeaking on the pavement, and threw out another jab. "What's the matter, soldier boy? Too scared to move?" "Some hero." His voice cracked with teenage bravado, but it carried, slicing through the reverence of the moment. His buddies erupted, their laughter jagged and loud, bouncing off the marble like stray bullets. A woman with a tight bun and a pinched face muttered, "Little brat needs a lesson." But Tyler didn't care. He was on a roll, strutting like he owned the place, blind to the sacred ground under his feet. Hayes stood like granite, his grip on the rifle tightening just enough for the leather gloves to creak. His face didn't budge, his eyes fixed on some distant point past the crowd, past the insults. Tyler saw that stillness and took it as a challenge. He whistled, sharp and mocking, then threw up a sloppy salute, wobbling on purpose to make it a joke. "Bet you're just standing there 'cause you can't do anything else, huh, loser?" Each word was a jab, meant to draw blood, and the crowd's murmurs grew sharper, a low buzz of anger stirring. A teenage girl in Tyler's group, her phone already out, giggled and leaned toward her friend. "Bet this guy's just some reject who couldn't hack real army stuff," she said, loud enough for the people nearby to hear. Her voice dripped with smugness, like she'd figured Hayes out. She zoomed in on him with her camera, smirking as she recorded, treating him like some sideshow act. A man in a faded jacket nearby shook his head, his voice low. "Kids have no idea what this place means." Hayes's fingers twitched on the rifle, a tiny flicker of strain, but his posture stayed perfect, his silence louder than their noise. The crowd was restless now, the air heavy with tension. An older guy in a veteran's cap, his hands balled into fists, looked like he was ready to march over and shut Tyler up himself. A young couple pushing a stroller turned away, their faces tight with secondhand embarrassment. But Tyler's crew kept going, their laughter a grating chorus. One of them, a short kid with braces and a backwards cap, yelled, "Yeah, dude, you're just a prop, total loser." The words hit hard, and the plaza felt like it was holding its breath, waiting for something to give. Hey, if this story's grabbing you, take a quick second to pull out your phone, smash that like button, drop a comment below, and hit subscribe. It means everything to keep these stories of honor and sacrifice alive, and we'd love you to join us. All right, back to it. Tyler wasn't backing off. He leaned over the rope, his voice louder, more reckless. "Yo, soldier boy, you deaf or just too dumb to talk?" His grin was wide, but his eyes darted around, like he knew he was pushing it. His mom, a woman in a floral dress with worry etched into her face, grabbed his arm. "Tyler, stop it right now!" she hissed, her voice shaking, but he yanked free, laughing, his buddies cheering him on. One of them tossed a crumpled gum wrapper toward the plaza, where it skittered across the marble, a small act of defiance that felt like a slap. A guy in a loud Hawaiian shirt, a tourist with a sunburned nose, chuckled and nudged his friend. "Kid's got guts. This guy's just standing there like a robot, right?" His voice was carefree, like he was at a theme park, not a memorial. He snapped a photo of Hayes, then gave Tyler a nod, egging him on. "Go for it, kid." Tyler's grin widened, feeding off the approval. Hayes's boots hit the marble a little harder, the sound crisp in the tense air, but his face stayed blank, his discipline a wall against the chaos. A woman in a park ranger uniform, standing off to the side, folded her arms, her eyes narrowing. "That boy doesn't know he's mocking a man who carried his squad leader 3 miles through enemy fire," she said to a colleague, her voice low but cutting. The words weren't meant for the crowd, but they spread, rippling through the people nearby. A few gasped, their eyes flicking to Hayes, who kept marching, his movements precise. Tyler's smirk faltered for a moment, but he shook it off, doubling down. "Whatever, he's just a guard." Big whoop. Then a voice broke through, rough and heavy with years. "You got any clue who that man is?" It was the veteran in the faded cap, his cane tapping the ground as he stepped forward. The crowd turned, their eyes locked on him. Tyler froze, his confidence cracking. His mom grabbed his shoulder, her nails digging in. "Tyler, that's enough," she said, her voice breaking. But he shook her off, his chin jutting out. "What? He's just some dude standing there. Not a big deal." The veteran's eyes blazed. "That's Sergeant Daniel Hayes," he said, loud enough for the whole plaza to hear. "Saved a platoon in Fallujah, took shrapnel to keep his men alive." The words landed like a hammer, silencing the crowd. Tyler's eyes darted around, his bravado crumbling. "Yeah, right," he muttered, but his voice was shaky now, less sure. "He's just standing there." The whispers started, spreading like wildfire. "Fallujah," a woman in sunglasses murmured. "That's him?" Her husband nodded, his face tight. A middle-aged man in a polo shirt, probably a dad on vacation, leaned toward his wife. "Heard Hayes got the Silver Star for that," he said, his voice hushed but clear. Pulled his guys out of an ambush. His wife's eyes widened and she clutched her purse tighter, staring at Hayes with new respect. Tyler's friends went quiet, their laughter fading as the crowd's mood shifted. But Tyler wasn't done. He stepped closer to the barrier, his voice sharp and desperate. "Hey, guard! You sweating in that fancy getup? Bet it's killing you." His laugh was hollow, his friends' cheers weaker now. An older woman with silver hair pinned up, standing with her granddaughter, pointed at Hayes' chest. "See that badge? That's the Tomb Guard identification badge. Hardest thing to earn in the Army." Her voice trembled with pride, and her granddaughter, maybe 10, looked up, her eyes wide. The crowd nearby craned their necks, trying to spot the small silver pin glinting on Hayes' uniform. His steps didn't waver, but his hand brushed the badge for a split second, a gesture so subtle it was almost invisible. The air grew heavier, the crowd's murmurs turning to awe. Hayes' eyes stayed forward, his fingers flexing on the rifle. The movement so small, only the closest onlookers caught it. The tension was thick now, the plaza buzzing with quiet outrage. A woman with a camera lowered it, shaking her head. "No respect," she muttered. Another voice, sharp and angry, called out, "Show some dignity, kid." But Tyler was too deep in his act. He bent down, grabbed a plastic water bottle from the ground, and tossed it toward the plaza. It rolled to a stop just inches from Hayes' boots, the sound echoing like a crack of thunder in the silence. The crowd gasped a collective intake of breath. A man in a baseball cap shouted, "That's way over the line." Tyler's mom covered her mouth, her eyes wide with horror. Hayes' grip on the rifle tightened, his knuckles white, but he didn't flinch. His steps stayed steady, each one a quiet defiance. Then a young soldier in dress blue, standing near the edge of the crowd, muttered to his buddy, "Hayes was my sergeant, took a bullet for me in Kabul." His voice was low, but it carried, and his friend's eyes widened, both of them standing straighter, their gazes fixed on Hayes. A tour guide, wiry and holding a clipboard, stepped forward, her voice calm but firm. "You kids know why he doesn't move? Because Sergeant Hayes swore an oath. He's seen hell, lost more than you can imagine, and he's still here, guarding the fallen." She pointed to Hayes' left leg, where his pant leg hung just a little too straight. "That's a prosthetic. Lost his leg in combat. Stands here every day, no complaints." The crowd went still, the weight of her words sinking in. A woman in a denim jacket wiped her eyes, her hands shaking. Tyler's face paled, his mouth half open, but he shook his head. "No way. That's not true. Heroes don't just stand there." A father with a weathered face, holding his young son's hand, turned to the boy. "That man's not standing for himself. He's standing for every soldier who didn't make it home." His voice cracked and he gripped his son's hand tighter, his eyes locked on Hayes. The boy, maybe 8, nodded, his face serious. The crowd around them shifted, some wiping tears, others standing taller, as if trying to match Hayes' resolve. Tyler's shoulders slumped, the weight of the moment pressing down, but he still muttered, "He's not a hero. He's just standing." A man in a wheelchair, his army jacket patched with old unit insignias, rolled forward, his voice rough but steady. "That soldier trained me. Stayed behind in Mosul so we could get out." His hands gripped the armrests, his eyes fixed on Hayes like he was seeing a memory come to life. The crowd nearby softened, some nodding in respect. Tyler's eyes flicked to the man, then back to Hayes, his confidence shrinking under the growing truth. His mom's hands shook as she pulled at his arm, her voice a whisper. "Tyler, please stop." Hayes's eyes flicked to the bottle at his feet for a fraction of a second, his face still blank, but his shoulders squared, his presence somehow larger. The crowd's murmurs grew, their anger shifting to reverence. A woman in a red scarf whispered, "How does he keep going? After all that?" Her friend shook her head, tears in her eyes. Tyler's buddies backed off, their laughter gone, their faces uneasy. The veteran with the cane watched Hayes, his expression a mix of pride and sorrow. Then Tyler pushed it further. He grabbed another bottle, this one half full, and chucked it harder. It hit the marble with a sharp crack, spinning to a stop right in front of Hayes. The crowd erupted, voices overlapping in outrage. "Get him out of here," a man shouted. "Shameful," a woman added, her voice trembling. Hayes's hand tightened on the rifle, his veins standing out, but he didn't break. His eyes stayed forward, his steps measured, each one a silent answer to the chaos. A military policeman, broad and stone-faced, stepped out from the side of the plaza. "Young man," he said, his voice like gravel, "you just disrespected a sacred ceremony." The crowd parted as he approached Tyler, who shrank back, his bravado gone. His mom grabbed his arm, tears streaming down her face. "I'm so sorry," she stammered. He didn't mean it. The officer's eyes stayed on Tyler, unyielding. "Step back, son. Now." A young woman in a college sweatshirt, her backpack slung over one shoulder, stepped forward, her voice shaking. "My brother was in his unit. Hayes carried him to safety after an IED." She pulled a folded photo from her pocket, holding it up. A grainy image of Hayes, younger, bloodied but steady, supporting a wounded soldier. The crowd leaned in, their murmurs softening to reverence. Tyler's hands shook, his eyes locked on the photo, his defiance crumbling like dust. The plaza went quiet again, the only sound Hayes's boots clicking against the marble. His face was still, but his eyes held a glint, something sharp, like a blade catching light. The veteran with the cane stepped closer to the rope, his hands trembling as he removed his cap. He bowed his head toward Hayes and whispered, "Thank you, son." The words were soft but carried, rippling through the crowd. A woman nearby started clapping, slow and deliberate, and others joined, a wave of respect building. A groundskeeper, his uniform stained with dirt from the morning's work, paused his sweeping and stood at attention, his broom resting against his shoulder. "That man's been here every day for years," he said, his voice thick with respect. "Never seen him falter, not once." The crowd turned, their eyes following his gaze to Hayes, whose steady steps seemed to anchor the plaza. Tyler's mom clutched her son's arm, her tears falling freely. "You didn't know, Tyler. You didn't know." Tyler stood frozen, his face red, his eyes darting between the officer and Hayes. "I didn't know," he mumbled, his voice barely audible. His friends backed away, their heads down, disappearing into the crowd. The teacher in the suit stepped forward, his voice firm. "You're done, Tyler. Let's go." But Tyler didn't move, his eyes fixed on Hayes, who kept marching, steady and unbroken. The kid tried one last time, his voice cracking. "If he's so great, why is he just standing there? Prove it." The words were desperate, hollow. The crowd shook their heads, some turning away. A man in a business suit, still recording on his phone, muttered, "This is going viral." His wife nodded grimly. Tyler's mom buried her face in her hands, her shoulders shaking. Hayes's face didn't change, but a bead of sweat rolled down his temple, glinting in the sun. Then the ceremony's announcer, a man in a dark blazer with a microphone, stepped forward. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, his voice heavy, "please join me in a moment of silence for Sergeant Daniel Hayes, who stopped a suicide bomber in Afghanistan, saving 48 of his brothers in arms." A screen nearby flickered on, showing grainy footage. Hayes diving in front of a truck, flames exploding behind him. The crowd gasped, some covering their mouths, others weeping openly. A woman in a navy blazer, her Arlington volunteer pin gleaming, stepped forward, her voice soft but clear. He was one of the youngest to earn the Tomb Guard badge. Less than 1% make it through. Her words hung in the air, and the crowd's eyes flicked to the small silver pin on Hayes' chest. A man nearby whispered to his son, "That's not just a job, that's a calling." Tyler's face crumpled, his shoulders slumping, his laughter gone. His mom pulled him close, whispering, "Oh, Tyler, what have you done?" The kid broke, crying loud and messy, his voice echoing across the plaza. "I don't believe it. Why's he got to stand there alone if he's a hero?" His words were half sob, half defiance, a kid wrestling with shame he couldn't name. His mom knelt beside him, hugging him tight, her face flushed with embarrassment. The crowd stayed quiet, their eyes shifting between the boy and the soldier. Hayes' eyes glistened, a faint shimmer of tears he'd never let fall. The drums sounded, signaling the end of the guard change. Hayes turned sharply, his movements flawless, and began his slow march back. The commander, a gray-haired officer with a chest full of medals, stepped forward. "Sergeant Hayes," he said, his voice ringing clear, "lost his family in the war, his mother, his brother, gone. Yet he stands here, guarding the fallen, because he swore he would." The crowd stood taller, hands over hearts, heads bowed. Hundreds of eyes followed Hayes, their silence a tribute. A child no older than 6 tugged at his mother's sleeve. "Mommy, is he a real hero?" His voice was small but clear. His mother knelt, her eyes wet, and nodded. "The bravest kind, baby." She lifted him onto her shoulders, pointing at Hayes, whose rifle gleamed in the fading light. The crowd's silence deepened, a shared reverence drowning out Tyler's fading sobs. The boy's defiance was gone, replaced by trembling shame. Tyler was quiet now, his face streaked with tears. He whispered, "I'm sorry," so soft it barely carried. His mom held him tighter, her own eyes wet. The military policeman stood nearby, his gaze softening but firm. The crowd's applause returned, louder now, a wave of respect filling the plaza. Hayes didn't look at them. He didn't need to. His steps were steady, his rifle firm, his silence louder than any words. The veteran with the cane watched Hayes pass, his eyes shining. A woman nearby touched her husband's arm, her voice choked. How does he do it? After all that? Her husband shook his head, unable to answer. Tyler's teacher escorted him away, his head down, the kid's defiance gone. The man in the suit kept recording, his video already spreading online, capturing Tyler's outburst and Hayes' quiet strength. Days later, the story exploded. Tyler's school suspended him for disrespecting a national monument. The video went viral, comments pouring in. "That kid should be ashamed. Sergeant Hayes is a hero." The teacher faced scrutiny from parents, his authority questioned. The guy in the Hawaiian shirt was identified online, his social media flooded with criticism, his vacation ruined by his own careless nod. The truth had caught up, quiet but relentless. Hayes kept walking his post. He didn't speak of the incident, didn't acknowledge the whispers or the viral video. His boots hit the marble, steady as ever. His silence wasn't weakness. It was strength, forged in loss and duty. The crowd saw it now. They felt it. And in that moment, they understood. He didn't need to prove anything. His presence was enough. Some things cut deeper than words. Some wounds don't show. But standing tall, through it all, that's what makes a man like Hayes. You feel it too, don't you? That quiet strength, it stays with you. Where are you watching from? Leave a comment below and hit follow to walk with me through heartbreak, betrayal, and finally, healing.